Hello, we are live.
All right, we are live. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. Good Tuesday to you. How's everybody doing? Leslie's feeling blessed again. Hey, this is 2 weeks in a row. You're in the same location. It's like a first.
Right?
That's good stuff. Dr. Saunders is in this pretty much the same location, it looks like.
Yeah, ever since I got an office. I have a location with good internet. That's the key.
Awesome. Yeah.
I had a few webinars in the car. Those were pretty fun.
Oh, that's true, huh?
I'm still coughing from 2 weeks ago. I had camp with some kids, and it's not coronavirus, pretty sure, but it's my allergies got into my lungs.
It's the corona. You're gonna die.
It's the coronavirus. It's not the coronavirus. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure my vitamin D levels are way above 34, so I should be okay.
Yeah, you should be fine.
Yep. Yeah. Well, good stuff. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the what do we call this thing now? The Barton webinar, the Type 2 webinar with Barton Publishing, and I'm your host, Joe Barton. What's that?
Fixed blood sugar webinar.
Fixed blood sugar webinar. Yes, I'm your host, Joe Barton, and we have Leslie Prinz showing running the controls and helping with questions, and Dr. Saunders, our medical advisor and resident expert, non-resident expert. Well, you're in California, so whatever we want to call you, I guess. Virtually, you're a resident medical expert. So
first thing I learned when I went to college is experts aren't.
Aha. All right. Well, that's good. And I am also not an expert. So, well, say hello to us if you're joining us live on the Zoom chat. We'd love to hear from you. And looks like Patrick is first to chime in and say hello. So good to see you, Patrick. And you're actually not late because we started a little bit late. So you're good to go. And today's topic, we're actually going to talk about something we have not talked directly about much before. And that is the area of sexual dysfunction related to type 2. And so today, Dr. Saunders is going to be sharing about that. And this is a topic that is important for everybody, but not everybody necessarily likes to talk about it. So this will be good to get questions answered and talk about this and learn how type 2 is connected to sexuality, sexual function as well, and stuff like that. So a bit of housekeeping. If you are watching this recorded on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere or live, we have our website, bartonwebinar.com, that's set up that lists our different links that will be of interest, and that includes our YouTube page, our Facebook page, and our products that we offer through Barton Publishing. So anything that we talk about here, you can find on bartonwebinar.com. And also, as a bit of disclaimer, we like to say that this is for informational purposes only. Dr. Saunders gives generic medical advice that is not specific to anyone. So if you have any questions like that, that's always best to talk to your own professional healthcare provider who knows your history. And Dr. Saunders does have his own program where he can become your doctor, and we can give that number in the chat as well if you're interested to hire him on as what we call the Dial-A-Doc program, where he has many patients that he has been working with over the years, me and my family and my team included, and he's an awesome resource. Anytime we have issues, we can text him or call him, and he answers and gives us lots of great help and keeps us from having to go to the doctor or hospital a lot of times too. So that's awesome. So anyways, without further ado, Dr. Saunders, let's get into today's topic, type 2 and sexual dysfunction.
Okay, just one housekeeping thing first, because I learned something this week and I want to share it with everybody. So sometimes the research will indicate certain things, and then we'll make assumptions from that. that aren't necessarily true. And this is the way science works. And so I want everybody to know something. If you were on a few weeks ago, and several times when I've mentioned the vitamin D thing, you know, you can get it from the sun, and you make the dihydrocholesterol on your skin, and then the sun comes down and makes it into vitamin D, and then it has to be absorbed through the skin. And they actually had numbers on all those things and everything. But it turns out, as I was doing some more research for this COVID-19 concept of how to get enough vitamin D, that the vitamin D is actually made in the top layer of your skin. It's in the cell. It's not on top of the skin. And so they always assumed it was on top of the skin because they could get vitamin D off the top of the skin. But that's not really where it's made. So just because there's a little bit on top of the skin, that's not actually. So while you can wash a tiny amount off when you go in and take a shower after you get sunshine, you know, you're not really washing it all off. The vitamin D you make in your skin is available for use in your body. And so it's regulated. So some people make more for the same amount of sun, and that could be for a lot of different reasons. The pigment in your corneal epithelium, that's the top layer of your skin, it competes for absorption of the ultraviolet light that creates the vitamin D. So pigment in your skin, the darker the skin, the harder it is to make vitamin D. And there are a lot of other factors, negative feedback loops of how much vitamin D you make. So just to say, the old idea of the shower washing out all of your vitamin D probably isn't completely true. You can shower off a small amount, but most of it is not going to be washed away. When you're swimming and making vitamin D, you probably get enough. And there's more factors involved than just how much you wash off your skin. A lot more.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's good to know, because you talked about the professional sand volleyball player that was outside a lot.
I don't know why he was low. We just assumed it was because I looked it up and I found this study that showed that it was on the surface of the skin. So I just, we just assumed that, oh, he must be washing it all off, but probably not. There must be some other reason.
Yeah, well, that's good to know, because summertime definitely, like you see, I think in general, most people's vitamin D levels are higher in the summertime, even if they're washing up, taking showers and jumping in the lake or whatever, stuff like that. So, so that's good to know. And, something else with vitamin D is, maybe you could clarify quick since we're on the topic, but like you can't, like it's almost impossible to get too much or toxic levels of vitamin D, right? Like someone was asking me, like, what if I took the whole bottle? I mean, maybe at that point it might be, too much if you took like 500,000 IUs or like 10 times the recommended amount or 100 times. Like at what level is it potentially too much?
Well, it's kind of an individual thing. So it depends on your calcium status and your other hormones like vitamin K and parathyroid hormone. There's other hormones involved in regulating calcium. And so the primary problem with vitamin D toxicity is the calcium levels go up. And if the calcium levels go up, then you get cramps of your muscles and nausea, abdominal pain, I don't feel like eating, anorexia. So all of those things happen because of the calcium. So if you're raising your vitamin D levels and keeping your calcium stable by having sufficient vitamin K and parathyroid hormone dropping down and everything keeps balanced, you can take 1 million units of vitamin D and not have any issues. So in fact, they used to, like people in a coma, because they're never exposed to sunlight and they don't have any muscle, bone stress on their bones, their bones just waste away. So they used to give them shots of 1 million units of vitamin D to keep them from wasting away their bones. it works somewhat, but wasn't a solution, complete solution to the problem. Anyway, so
Okay. Well,
yeah,
thanks for clarifying that. All right,
Okay.
take us away. Let's talk about sex.
Okay. You know, it's a funny thing about how sex drives so much in our society. You know, the advertising, you know, sex sells, all that stuff, and you know, the selling funny things like I remember when I was a carpenter that, you know, the toolboxes had pictures of beautiful girls on them. I don't know, somehow the tools work better if there's a beautiful girl on the box or something like that. The idea of sex is so constant in our society, and yet people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. 80% of people won't ask their doctor about sexual problems that they have, things that come up. They'll say, gee, I can't see very well, or my foot's numb, but they're not going to say, gosh, I have erectile dysfunction. Like 80% of the time, and most doctors won't bring it up to their patients either, so they're not going to ask. So people with diabetes, they go into the doctor and they get their blood sugar addressed, they get their whatever, their vision, they make sure their vision's working, their kidneys are working, but nobody asks about the sexual dysfunction that happens with diabetes. And it's very common. It's not a small thing. In fact, when people with diabetes get neuropathy, they have a significant chance, like more than double the chance of having sexual dysfunction at the same time. And if it's an autonomic neuropathy, like their blood pressure is changing, they're getting dizziness, for example, or their temperature is changing, or their heart rate, they have palpitations, those kinds of things. The autonomic neuropathies, they have pretty close to a 100% chance that men in this case are going to have erectile dysfunction. And yet these things are not addressed for diabetics in most doctors' offices, partly because the person doesn't bring it up, and the other part is the doctor doesn't bring it up. And so it just gets pushed under the rug and people go on. So that's kind of what I wanted to deal with today, is that this is an issue and it's real, and the dysfunction is significantly correlated with diabetes, especially if you have some kind of neuropathy. And women aren't out of the woods either. You know, I talk about erectile dysfunction because that's an obvious thing. If you can't get an erection, you can't have sex. Okay, so what about women? Well, women have other kinds of issues, like a lack of blood flow is a lack of sensation for women too. And so arousal is difficult. And so women just says, I don't feel like it. And for both men and women, there's the problem of energy. You know that diabetes is an energy problem, right? It's metabolism, and it's sugar metabolism and fat metabolism. And what this means is the production of energy in your body. Well, if you're not making a lot of energy, if you're waking up tired and going to bed tired and tired all day long, and you just don't have energy, are you going to even feel like having intimacy with your partner? You know, that you lose that ability or even desire just because you don't feel good. Or what if you're in pain all the time? What if your feet are constantly pins and needles all the time? You know, it's not a comfortable thing. It becomes not so fun. Life is just a drag most of the time. And of course, our intimacy, or human intimacy, gets pushed under the rug very easily when you have all these bigger issues to deal with. So the research shows that it's very common, like I said, with men with erectile dysfunction, 80% if they have peripheral or autonomic neuropathy, 100%, and even young men in their 30s and 40s have erectile dysfunction. There's other issues too, and that is the ability to arrive at orgasm. Because if you have lower sensation, if your sensation is diminished, your blood flow is diminished, then that doesn't work well either. So, you know, maybe you'd be able to have sex, but it won't be satisfying. You won't be able to to enjoy it. So those kinds of things are real, and they actually diminish the quality of life of people. So if that's a motivation, then I can tell you how to overcome that, to get past it. And that is the fountain of youth. To return to a youthful state is to have everything functioning properly. So if the nervous system functions properly, then you'll have the normal sensation and normal desires. If the energy system functions properly, then you'll have the stamina, because exercise is, sex is exercise too. You know, it's like people who can't walk a block, you know, aren't likely to be able to have sex very well. So energy, nervous system, and the other one is circulation. So if you have those three issues, if you fix them, then what happens is both the ability and the desire and the sensation all come back to normal, and you could have normal functioning again. So just because you've lost it doesn't mean it's gone forever. This is actually a fixable thing for most people. It depends on if you're able to fix those three things, because if it's gone too long, the longer it's gone, the less likely, or the harder it is to get function back. But don't give up. There's always hope. There's always a possibility.
Good news. All right. So let's talk about that fountain of youth.
Okay.
All right.
So the way you do that is to repair the circulation. And one of the most important things that you do for circulation is exercise. When you're exercising, you increase your circulation and your stamina and your energy production. So that improves a lot of different aspects to the problem that's causing the sexual dysfunction in the first place. So what kind of exercise? Well, whatever you can do. If all you can do is walk one block, then walk one block. And then after a couple of weeks of walking one block, walk one block and go 3 steps further. And then every day add another step. And within a year, you're walking a mile, and your stamina has increased dramatically because you've been pushing a little bit and exercising your muscles so that you build up strength in your muscles. Your muscles don't just get bigger, they also make more of a little teeny bacteria called mitochondria. And these mitochondria make energy in your muscles, but also in your whole body, in your heart, in your brain. They all require these mitochondria to make energy. So when you're exercising, you're increasing the number of mitochondria. And the number means you have more energy. So if you only have one in a cell, then you only have a little bit of energy. But if it multiplies and you have 2, you've doubled your energy. And that's kind of the way the system works. So exercise is really important, and just do what you can, but increase the amount to tolerance, and just increase a little bit at a time. Don't go and kill yourself one day and then go, I feel so weak and horrible, and I lifted too much weight, and I've torn my muscles, and I'm sore, and I can't do anything anymore. I'm never going to do that again. And then that's the end of your exercise. So find something you love to do. Yesterday, my wife went with a friend to the beach, and she just loves walking on the beach. So she sends me back pictures of the places she was walking on the beach. And she goes, this is awesome. And what it does is she can walk a couple of miles if she's walking on the beach, where if she's walking on the road, it's like she'll walk a little ways and go, okay, turn back, let's go.
Yeah.
If it's not enjoyable, then you're not going to do it as much. So find something you love to do. If it's swimming, fine, swim. If it's the best exercise is the one you like. Mm-hmm. So if it's playing games, great. For me, I have to be doing something. I have to be accomplishing something. So I wish I could show you a picture. Last weekend, I was putting a fence in my yard. So I'm digging post holes and mixing cement and pounding nails and putting fence posts up and everything. and building stuff. That's how I exercise. It's the best for me.
Yeah, and maybe people will get back to washing their own clothes, you know, like get rid of the washing machine and just get out there and like start.
Or washing their own car. I thought you were going to say washing their own car. That's not
Well,
bad.
that too. Yeah, why not?
Or scrubbing the driveway.
Yeah. I've been
all the
playing
things.
hockey. I got into playing hockey about 6 or 7 years ago, and I love it. So that's a fun outlet for me. And like, I'm like you, I need like something, a tangible goal. For me, it's like sports, but I'm not so much of a fence putter upper like you. But yeah, I need to have something that I'm chasing after, and then I forget about the pain or whatever. Or
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then number 2, while you're increasing your energy use, increasing the blood flow, something that's very important is benfotiamine. Diabetics have a decrease in vitamin B1. And benfotiamine is a fat-soluble vitamin B1. And it gets into the lining of the teeny blood vessels, the arteries called arterioles, and helps them to function better, helps the epithelial layer to function better, so you have better blood flow. That's why it works on neuropathy. It doesn't work on the nerves, it just improves the blood flow so the nerves get more oxygen and energy. And that's what your muscles need too. So benfotiamine, another one is alpha lipoic acid. Alpha lipoic acid gets rid of the inflammation that you're using as you're exercising. You're making oxygen-free radicals and causing inflammation. And the ALA is really good for getting rid of that. So those two together have a dramatic effect on the ability for the nerves to heal, mainly because you're getting better blood flow. So take benfotiamine 150 milligrams a day and alpha lipoic acid about 1,200 milligrams a day. And you do that for a few months, like 2 to 3 months. And then you can cut back to 75 of the benfotiamine and 300 or 600 of the alpha lipoic acid, and that would be sufficient. But the first part of the time is to rebuild and repair. So that's step 2.
Yeah, this might be a great time to talk about Nervala. So that's what you formulated this to have, exactly those amounts that you recommend of benfotiamine and alpha lipoic acid. So if you are interested in getting that, we've got it in stock, and you go to bartonwebinar.com and scroll to the bottom and you'll see the green bottle of Nervala. Click on the buy now and you can see our pricing there. Best value is if you buy 6 bottles. And also, because you're on the webinar today, I'll give you a coupon code that you can use that'll save you 25% off anything you order. And that coupon code is webinar25, right, Leslie? I believe that is the right coupon. So anyways, Nervala has those 2 ingredients in it. And I guess, can you talk like, so this 2 a day for 30 to 60 days, and then 1 a day after that. But this will have a dramatic impact on sexual health, as well as neuropathy and other things related to that as well, right?
Well, yeah, it has the effect on sexual health because it affects the neuropathy. Remember, the neuropathy was almost guaranteed. If someone has neuropathy, they're going to have sexual dysfunction. So this is the reversing of neuropathy, helps the sexual dysfunction just because you're improving the function of the nerves. Okay, so that's the circulation. That's how to get circulation. So the other thing you need to do is control the blood sugar. Blood sugar control is actually an important part of sexual function as well, because when the blood sugar isn't well controlled, then the energy systems don't work very well. And part of that is the blood pressure. The blood pressure goes up when the kidneys and the brain aren't getting enough blood supply, or energy supply is a better way to say it. When they're not getting enough energy, then the brain's saying, hey, I need more energy, and closes down the blood vessels to push the blood up to the brain so it can have more circulation and get more energy. But that's not the problem. The problem is that the blood sugar is high all the time. You got to get the blood sugar down to increase the ability for the body to get the sugar from the blood into the brain. It has to cross the blood-brain barrier, and it can't get across unless there's a protein to pull it through into the brain. And that only happens when you drop your blood sugar down to normal. So having fluctuations in blood sugar is okay, but having a constant high level is not good for your kidneys or brain. So your blood pressure goes up. When the blood pressure goes up, then you have sexual dysfunction for a lot of different reasons. One is that the sphincters don't work as well. And so often what happens is they put you on blood pressure medication. And most of the blood pressure medications cause sexual dysfunction because they don't allow the sphincters that hold the blood into the penis, for example, cause erectile dysfunction. And also limits the blood flow for women too. Some of them are diuretics that cause dryness. And so the medications for blood pressure are often the culprit in this kind of a case. So when you get your blood sugar down to normal and your brain has good amount of energy and your kidneys have a good amount of energy, then they start going, and they relax. And then you can have normal blood pressure, and that will help your sexual function a lot, especially if you can get off the medications that you no longer need because your kidneys and brain are functioning fine. So, and that's a big one. That's a big one. The blood pressure medication is a big problem for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the blood sugar, the blood pressure, other medications that we might consider as long as we're talking about medications. Things like antihistamines cause sexual dysfunction. So if you have allergies and you're taking allergy pills, those have effect of causing dryness, and they also affect something called acetylcholine that helps, it is important for sexual function. So there are a lot of medications that have that problem. So antihistamines, and also the medications that are often used for bipolar disorder, medications that are used for schizophrenia and other emotional problems, things that are normally used for seizures, for seizure disorders. A lot of these kind of medications for heart medications for arrhythmia, a lot of medications can cause sexual dysfunction. So it's really important that that you look at the medications to see if that's the cause of your problem. Because if that's it, then what we need is a way to get off of that medication, to try something else or find a better way to manage the issue so that you don't have to take that medication anymore. Such as the blood pressure medication. Get your blood pressure down to normal, you just don't need it anymore. That's all. So medications, energy, nervous system. Well, we talked about the nervous system. And one really important thing for the nervous system is the nervala that we talked about, the benfotiamine alpha lipoic acid, and exercise. Those two things are really important too. And then the last thing is hormones. Now, we always think like hormones as sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Those are the sex hormones, because those are the ones that are different in men and women. Men have higher testosterone and lower estrogen. Women have higher estrogen and lower testosterone. So, excuse me. So we think of those as the sex hormones, but we often forget that one of the biggest sex hormones is adrenaline, and cortisol, or adrenal hormones, are really, really important. Our circadian rhythm is really important. And so having a good amount of adrenal hormones is actually very helpful for sexual functioning as well. And the best way to deal with that is to go to bed by 10 o'clock at night, wake up in the morning and eat breakfast before 8 o'clock, and then don't eat after 6 o'clock so that you have an empty stomach when you go to bed. We call that our 6-10 reset. Don't eat after 6, go to bed at 10, because that helps you get a good circadian rhythm. And then some people will need to other hormone balancing. So for example, women that have vaginal dryness, it may not be enough just to do that. Sometimes they have to fix their estrogen, testosterone, progesterone as well. The first step to do before you go into a doctor and start taking hormones or rubbing hormones on your skin is to fix the belly fat. Testosterone is made into estrogen in the belly fat, and it creates an imbalance in the sex hormones. So if you can lower the belly fat, then you can often fix the hormones, at least to an extent where everything will function better. And the way to do that is to keep your insulin levels down. Insulin causes fat to be produced around the midsection, around the belly. So you've seen people like, I used to live in Venezuela, and by the age of 30, all the men there had bellies that were so big they couldn't button their shirts. They were just, they leave their shirt unbuttoned and their belly button would stick out of their shirts because they didn't really eat a lot, but they drank a lot of beer. They were drinking beer all day long. And beer is a carbohydrate, and it causes a release of insulin. So they had this high insulin level, and they would get big bellies, but they'd have really skinny arms and legs. Their arms were really skinny, and just this big belly. That's from insulin, and that's caused by sugar. Sugar causes the release, or carbohydrates cause the release of insulin. So when you look at the diabetes solution kit that we created, the first part of it, phase 1, is really all about detoxing, getting off of the carbohydrates so that you can train your body to burn fat. And when you're doing it that way, and you're not using carbohydrates, then you don't make insulin. Another very important thing you can do is fasting. Now, I know nobody likes fasting. And everybody goes, ugh, really? Not eating? Well, yeah, that's, how human beings live for, I don't know, thousands, millions of years, forever. People had a lot of food, and then they would have periods of time when they didn't have any food, and they would have to live off the fat that they had stored. So if you have stored fat, just think of it that, oh, I have stored fat, I don't have to eat because I have all this extra stored fat. And so when you're not eating, you quit making insulin. And that's the most wonderful thing in the world, because you put your body into anabolic mode, you repair all of the processes, all the things that have been breaking down, the hormone balance, the nervous system, the kidneys, the heart, the liver, the brain, all of the things that have been damaged by the diabetes get repaired while you're not eating, while your stomach is empty. So that's what fasting means. It's an empty stomach. So keeping your stomach empty as long as possible, especially at night. So a lot of people I know are now doing 1 meal a day. They just eat breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's their only meal every day. That's a great way to do it. Several studies have been done on 2 meals a day, eating breakfast at 7, and then what do they call it? A supper at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that works really well. People lose weight on that. They feel better. They get their energy back because they have a long time from 3 in the afternoon till 7 the next morning with an empty stomach. And so the nighttime, they get the repair process with the 6-10 reset thing. So that keeping the insulin down is a great way to restore your hormone balance and repair your sexual function. I know it sounds funny, but gosh, this is true, guys. This actually really works. I know because I've had a lot of patients do it. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Did I overload everybody?
That's really good. So before we transition over to questions, I just wanted to give a little bit of good news. So I just asked Eric, our tech guy, if he could update our pricing on Nervala. So now that we've got plenty in stock, we're able to drop our price in the store from $67 a bottle to $49 a bottle. Plus, when you use the webinar 25 coupon, you can save an additional 25% off. So you can get, if you want to buy 6 today, that brings the per bottle cost down to $27.75. So
Wow.
go to bartonwebinar.com and click on the link of the product at the bottom, Nervala, and then you should see that in the cart. And if you click up on shop, you can see our other products, Synachroma, Reflux Reliever. Actually, Synachroma is still in very limited supply right now. But we have plenty of reflux reliever, healthy gut support, turmeric BP. We also have a couple new products called neurometabolic iodine and easy relief magnesium. So if any of those are something that you're interested in, you can use that webinar 25 coupon and save big today. So, all right, let's transition to questions that have been racking up here. Leslie, if you want to take over and start asking away here.
You bet. Okay, so if you haven't asked your question, feel free to do that now, both on Facebook and on Zoom. We're going to try to get to as many of those as possible. Let's see. We have Sir Charles asks, is it best to eat before or after a workout? Is it okay to work out on an empty stomach?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, it's okay to eat before or after workout, and it's okay to work out on an empty stomach. In fact, it's really good for you to work out on an empty stomach. And if you maintain your diet to the point of eating breakfast in the morning and eating whatever lunch in the afternoon and skipping dinner, and let's say you work out in the evening and you don't eat till the next morning, the evidence is that you actually build more muscle doing that and less fat. Whereas, okay, I had a CrossFit coach, and he came to me one time and he goes, okay, you're a doctor, right? And you know about this stuff, so I got to ask you a question. He says, I have been trying so hard to get this belly off. I do sit-ups, I work out all the time, and this belly fat just won't go away. I said, so what do you do after you work out? So he works out like all day long. He's like coaching, and he's working out with the people in the classes. So then after, he goes home and he has a big shake he cracks some eggs in there and has this protein stuff that he puts in there and fruit and juice and then he drinks it down. I said, there's your problem right there. So I said, quit doing that at night and just don't eat anything after work and just wait till the morning and then have your shake in the morning. And it worked. His belly went away. It took time, of course. I was in the class for a long time, but it worked. Not eating carbohydrates, especially after workout, is a really good idea because you don't want insulin. Insulin is a growth hormone for fat, where you want the ability to make muscle. And so if you wait until your human growth hormone is released instead of insulin, then you're going to put on muscle and you're going to make a nice, six-pack on your belly, and then eat in the morning. Eat your breakfast in the morning, whatever that happens to be. Good food.
Okay. This is good. Okay, Susan, I hope you got the feedback gotten taken care of there. Sorry about that. Teresa's on. It's fun to see all of you returning guests. Okay. I think I got all the questions here. If you have ordered Synachroma before, will it automatically be sent to us when the shipment comes in? Meaning you're just waiting for it? Okay. And we just received enough bottles to fill the back orders.
Yep.
Yes, yep. Your orders will be coming as soon as it's in. Oh, you responded. Never mind. Sorry, I'm reading Joe's response.
Yeah, so if you're on our Synachroma monthly auto ship program, we were a bit delayed, but now those orders should be shipping out today, actually. So those should be delivered to your home in the next few days. Thankfully, we've had a lot of issues with coronavirus related stuff, just getting stuff in stock. I just found out today that one of our manufacturers was hit by a tornado last week in in New Jersey, so it's like the hits just keep on coming, you know.
Oh man.
But that only delayed him for 1 week, I guess. But yeah, so if it isn't one thing, it's another. It's just one of those years you gotta be flexible with. So.
Oh man. Okay, this is a great question from Scott. He says, "Hello everyone. I have been type 2 for 15 years and lately have reduced my daily carb intake to 20 grams and reduced my protein to 70 grams, increased my fat, trying to get into ketosis. My morning blood sugar readings are still in the 250s. I would appreciate your thoughts and if you have any suggestions."
Okay. The blood sugar in the 250s can have several different reasons for it if you've just decreased the amount of carbohydrates you're eating. One is that you could be, if you have a lot of insulin resistance, then you could be, instead of using fat for energy, you make glucagon because you've decreased the carbohydrates, so you make extra glucagon. And what that does is causes you to use sugar or to make sugar from protein. So if you're eating proteins, then you can make that into sugar if you have a different hormone called glucagon. So in those kind of cases, you also want to decrease your protein intake. And so your fat intake is okay. If you want to fast for a couple of days, because ultimately what has to happen in this kind of a case is you have to get that insulin down so you can start using fat for energy. Insulin blocks your ability to use fat for energy, and it prevents you from getting in ketosis, and that's because you can't use fat for energy. So you may want to do like the 6-10 reset or just eat 2 meals a day for a while so that you have an empty stomach for a longer period of time to get that insulin down. Good stuff.
Okay, here's a good question from Krish. Why do some people feel sleepy during the daytime even though they had sound sleep for 6 to 7 hours the night before?
Well, daytime sleepiness can come for a lot of different reasons. The hours of sleep isn't necessarily everything to do with getting enough sleep. Sometimes it's the hours of deep sleep. So the deep sleep happens during a certain time in your circadian rhythm. And that's around between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So if you go to bed late, like let's say you go to bed at midnight and you sleep till 8 o'clock in the morning, you've had 8 hours sleep, but you've only had 2 hours of deep sleep. So you may not be rested. So in order to get your body rested, it requires a certain amount of restful sleep or deep sleep. REM sleep has something to do with that too, but they're actually completely different. And you can get REM sleep during the day and have naps, for example. And did that answer the question?
I think so. I think there's a lot of different reasons. Another question from Johanna. Have you heard of diabetes freedom?
Diabetes freedom. Yeah, that's I think it's like a membership program, right? Diabetes, it's for type 2 diabetes. It's a membership program for reversing type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, I think that's actually a friend of mine's product or program that's similar to ours, but I don't remember the details of it. So we've promoted it in our email before, but yeah, I don't remember all the exact details on it. It's a good program though. But
yeah,
ours is better.
Yeah, it's like a diet program where I think you sign up. I think it's a membership.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm not too familiar with it either.
Okay, here's another good question from Sir Charles. What is the desired blood sugar reading 2 hours after eating a meal?
Desired blood sugar 2 hours after eating a meal. Well, optimally, under 120 would be considered normal. Under 100 is awesome. But yeah, under 120 is considered normal.
How does that work as far as like what you eat and then how long is that curve typically last? I suppose that the more carbs you eat, the bigger or longer the curve. But
yeah, So that's that. There's two things that are often talked about. Like if you look up on the internet and you see glycemic index, what does that mean? Well, that's how much your blood sugar goes up after eating it. So for example, you can look at ice cream has a glycemic index. I don't remember what the numbers are, but watermelon has a higher glycemic index than ice cream. And you go, wait, but that's natural and that's okay. Watermelon's okay. No, watermelon actually has a really high glycemic index. Its sugar is absorbed very rapidly and can cause a higher insulin response too than ice cream. Ice cream has fat in it and it's more gradually absorbed than watermelon, which has actually very little fiber in it. So the sugar is absorbed really rapidly like juice. So that's where we don't know about how long it's going to last. So 2 hours after a meal, you'd expect it to stay, your blood sugar to stay under 110, ideally under 100. Under 120 is okay. But it depends on the glycemic index of the food you eat too.
Okay. Here's a question from Susan. How long after exercising should you check your blood sugar?
Well, that depends. It depends on where you are. So with exercise, it would be great to know what your blood sugar is like before you exercise and then after you exercise, just to see how you do. But you don't have to do that every time because exercise can act kind of like insulin. So it can lower your blood sugar. So if you're not getting hypoglycemic with exercise, it may not be an issue at all. So it just depends. If it's an issue, then checking your blood sugar as often as you'd like, after exercise would be fine. But most of the time that's not necessary.
Okay. Sir Charles.
Can I butt in quick?
Yeah.
Could I ask the people watching if they could share something? So this is my question to you guys. How often are you guys checking your blood sugars and what device are you using and how much does that cost you to do that every month? I'm just curious. So type that in the chat here if you could. How often are you checking it and what are you using, like what brand, and how much does that cost you? Okay, that's all. Thanks. Carry on.
I think most of the test strips are about $1 each.
Yeah,
has been my experience.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like if people are doing it multiple times a day or a couple times a week or a month or
yeah.
So I'll be interested to know. Thanks.
Yeah, and if you're watching the replay on this, like on Facebook, let us know in the comments too, because we do want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What was I going to ask here? Sir Charles, in phase 1, should my goal be to have a blood sugar reading of 100 or a fasting blood sugar of 100?
A postprandial after eating blood sugar of 100 would be great. Your fasting blood sugar ideally would be between 70 and 90. So in phase 1, when you have normal insulin function, you should be able to see your blood sugars in the 70 to 90 range.
Okay.
Fasting.
Okay. Let's see. I think this is probably Eve. Oh, Terry. Okay. 100 strips for $85. That's what?
Oh yeah. So that's less than $1 each. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then got that one. This is from James. Hello, James. Type 2 diagnosed diabetic, 53 plus years. Never been fat or overweight. What's the difference in treating the overweight and the non-overweight person?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so overweight just means you've been holding on to a lot of fat. But the diabetes, when in someone who's thin, they usually either they don't make very much insulin, or they have a certain type of insulin resistance where they don't build up fat very easily. So what I have to do when I see somebody who's thin and has type 2 diabetes, I have to test their insulin level to see what it is. And then check the pancreas function with the C peptide level. It's C-peptide. And that C peptide is more of a long-term insulin. So insulin lasts for seconds to minutes in the blood. So you have this constantly fluctuating insulin level, depending on what the pancreas is putting out at this moment. Whereas the half-life of the C peptide is a little longer. It's like 10 minutes. So you have sort of over an hour's period of time, you have sort of an average of what the pancreas is putting out in terms of insulin. And you mark that against what the blood sugar is. So you're looking at the blood sugar, then you're looking at the insulin and C peptide, and that tells you how the pancreas is functioning. So if you have super high insulin levels with normal blood sugars, that's a very different animal from somebody who has really high blood sugars with low insulin levels, for example. And the low insulin levels, usually people don't gain weight, and they have a completely different program. But here's the cool thing is the diabetes solution kit works great for both of them. And that's one of the reasons we put this out as kind of a general way of handling things, is because if you're doing sort of a ketogenic, a 20-gram carbohydrate diet, if you have poor insulin production, that still works really well for improving your insulin sensitivity and getting rid of type 2 diabetes.
Awesome. Okay, this is good. Let's see, Scott, thank you for answering my question. If I may ask one more, I'm currently fasting with just 2 meals using 16 and 8. Would you recommend I try 1 meal a day?
Okay, so is that somebody who's overweight and needs to lose weight and has a lot of insulin resistance and needs to get the insulin resistance down? If that's the case, yeah, try 1 meal a day. It works faster. So remember, fasting is faster. So yes, you can do the ketogenic diet. You can do our phase 1 in the diabetes solution kit. It's all spelled out for you. It's not hard to do. It's easy to follow, and and you don't have to deprive yourself of food. Maybe some specific foods, but not all food. Whereas people don't like to fast, but you know what? It's the single best thing you can do. So yeah, if you were going to do 1 meal a day and just eat breakfast, absolutely, that works better. And you can do that as long as you want, and then you get to your ideal body weight, and then you can add another meal in or something.
Awesome. Okay, I check my blood sugar at least 4 times per day with the Freestyle Libre 14-day monitor. It costs about $65 every 2 weeks. And that is from Curtis. Krish says 1 to 2 times a week, and I use the One Touch Vario, and the strips are unique to this meter with the same name.
Yeah.
Susan, I check twice a day, the One Touch Ultra, and my insurance covers that. It says covers. Patrick,
So it's kind of like printers, you know. They give you a printer practically for free. You know, you can buy the printer for $20, but then you got to buy their ink cartridges. So that's kind of the way these things work. You know, they practically give away the machines, but then you got to buy their test strips all the time for, well, 85 cents a strip, you know, $60 a month, or $120 a month, one person said.
Yeah, Patrick says I use the One Touch Vario once in the morning, and I buy the strips on eBay. Last batch of 100 cost me $26.
Whoa, that's good. Good price.
Deal.
As long as they aren't expired.
Right. With my insurance copay, a 3-month supply costs $5 or $15. Krish says. Okay. Teresa says I eat once a day. Eat like a bear. I check when I wake. I check before I eat, usually at 2 p.m. Sorry, I'm getting more comments and it's scrolling up. Now, where was I? Let's see. Usually 2 p.m. and then I check again at bedtime. I do not pay for test supplies. They're covered by insurance. Eat like a bear. I like that. Let's see. Anything
Bears
else?
fast for like 3 months at a time or something, don't they? They just hibernate. That works too for humans, right? If you got 90 pounds to lose, just stop eating for 90 days. You've talked about that.
Yeah, that works.
Good.
I've had people do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I test my blood sugar twice a day, morning before any food and evening 2 to 4 hours after dinner. I use the One Touch Delica, and my cost through Medicare is $0. Okay, here's a good question from Krish. Nose is not blocked and blood pressure is normal. Why do I feel dizzy? What other factors might cause dizziness?
Oh goodness, dizziness is there's a whole bunch of things, but dizziness in diabetes is an indicator of a couple of different issues. One might be the autonomic nervous system dysfunction. So if your blood vessels dilate, then the blood runs out of your head and you get dizzy. That's called hypotension. That's not a good thing. The other is your blood sugar drops down, and that's hypoglycemia. And that's not necessarily a good thing either. For other people, they with diabetes especially, they have really high blood sugar and they pee a lot, and so they lose a whole bunch of urine and they get hypovolemia. They get low blood volume, and that's not a good thing either. So whether it's the autonomic nervous system or the kidney function or the sugar function, dizziness is not normal and not a good thing. And that needs to be, a cause needs to be determined why that dizziness is happening so that you can address the proper problem and fix the issue.
Okay. Maybe have one more question. Let's see. This is Eve. If you eat one meal a day, would eating at about 2 or 3 be as beneficial as breakfast?
The research with intermittent fasting sort of indicates that if you eat breakfast in the morning, you're better off. And so if you're skipping meals, the first meal to skip is dinner, the second meal to skip is lunch, and just eat breakfast, because that gives you the good circadian rhythm. That's what starts your day, is the breakfast. So it's better to skip that. It's better to skip lunch than to skip breakfast. If you're gonna eat one meal a day, eat in the morning when you wake up.
Okay, and Terry says, I get flickering in my eyes. What could cause this?
So all of the things that can cause flickering in your eyes, it need to see an ophthalmologist, because they have to look at the retinas to see if there's any damage to the retinas. Sometimes it's blood flow issue, which they won't see, but that's important to know what it's not, because as long as everything is anatomically and functionally okay, the flicker in the eyes might not be a big issue. But even then, if you have flickering in your eyes, that could be even a migraine headache or something. So it might not be related to problems with your eyes, but I think it would be a good idea to, especially if it's only in one eye. If it's in both eyes, less important, but still seeing an ophthalmologist for that is a good idea.
Right. Anything
There's a really
else?
good testimonial and question from Stephanie, if you want to read that one. And we could probably be done with that.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Stephanie says, I followed your advice on fasting for losing weight and healing my body. I feel so much healthier. I'm 46 years old and went water skiing 2 weeks ago. Awesome. 2 years ago, that would not have been possible. However, I lost an alarming amount of hair. What caused this, and what could I do to reverse or eliminate this side effect? I lost 80 pounds in about a year.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Stephanie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love Stephanie. She's great. Okay. So the hair loss thing, it is an issue with a lot of weight loss. And it often is related more, women have it more because of the change in hormones. Remember, I was talking earlier about sexual dysfunction and how if you lose the belly fat, it'll change the balance of your hormones. Well, when you lose a lot of fat quickly, it does change the balance of your hormones. And I don't know, Stephanie personally, if she personally had issues with this, but a lot of women, like after delivery of a baby, the hair will just start falling out and they'll just be going, oh my gosh, I'm going bald. Because after delivery of a baby, the hormones change rather rapidly, and that's from a drop in progesterone. And so these alterations in hormones will cause hair loss, like a lot of hair loss. But the good news is the hair grows back. This isn't like men going bald. It's not the balding gene kind of hair loss. It's a hormonal hair loss, usually from progesterone, that causes the hair to fall out, but that hair immediately grows back again. So it does grow out again. It'll thin, but it'll tend to grow out again. So to reverse it, there is one thing. I have had several people say that the biotin, vitamin B7, the hair, there's like hair, skin, and nail supplements, and they're usually biotin, vitamin B7, along with calcium and some glucosamine and things like that, protein. Those actually work well. I've had people tell me that their hair came back nice and thick after taking these extra supplements of B7 biotin. All
right. Well, hey, we are a little past an hour here, and so this is, we'll wrap up. This has been a great call. Great topic, and covering a lot of different topics today. Lots of great questions, and appreciate everybody interacting and helping us out. So Scott, any last words? Maybe just close us out with the sexual dysfunction topic, and then we'll turn it off. So.
Okay, so what you don't do is isolate things out. Most doctors are splitters, where they split every little symptom into a separate thing, so that you have to take Viagra because you have erectile dysfunction, or you have to take a hormone for women that have vaginal dryness, or you have to take, so you end up taking a whole bunch of different supplements and a whole bunch of different things. If you have diabetes, don't separate things out. Bring it all together and say, look, this is a systemic problem. It's a problem with my whole body making energy, my brain, my kidneys, and yes, the sexual organs as well. And when you fix one, you fix the other. So if you fix the underlying problem, then you don't have a whole bunch of little pills to pop all the time to make each thing look better or feel better. You can fix the whole thing at once. That's why the program didn't change. So I'm talking about sexual dysfunction, and I'm giving you the exact same program I told you about when I was talking about brain dysfunction. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, very good. Appreciate it, Dr. Saunders, as always. And I'm going to call you right after this with my question that I had about gut health. So we'll talk privately on that. But thanks, everybody, for joining us. As always, you can go to bartonwebinar.com and sign up, register to be notified about these webinars every Tuesday at noon Central Time. We love to have participation. And so thanks, Leslie, for running controls and managing all the questions and everything else. So, all right. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.